In today's episode of the Platform Presents podcast, I have a very interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Dr. Alissa Sklar, and she's hailing over as the VP of Marketing at GIS Planning. And today we want to really deep dive into the world of what GIS doing is all about, into the world of economic development solutions, really, to see how site selection data tools help their customers, what a B2G approach actually can look like, and how Alissa is thinking about growth for the company. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So maybe for everybody who hasn't, deep dived into GIS planning yet, maybe help us out a little bit. What is GIS planning all about in your own words?
So GIS Planning is a interactive website data tools provider. We build software. This is enterprise software, so it's software as a service subscription model. Our clients are typically governments, economic development organizations. They might be utilities that do economic development, chambers of commerce. So that could be countries, provinces, states, metro areas, counties. It could even be small towns. And what they're trying to do is attract investment to their area. So to move commercial real estate. And they do that, they provide not only available commercial real estate, but also thousands and thousands of data points on consumer spending and workforce and tax incentives and utilities and broadband and transportation. So our tool is basically the first one on the market. We introduced it 25 years ago that puts all this data together in a visual way for the non-GIS user, anyone who's looking for a place for their business. And it lives on websites for these economic development organizations, so that if you're looking for the ideal location for your business, you can see what's there, do the research and analysis in order to make some decisions.
Mm-hmm. Well, that is very clear. So what would be sort of the types of projects typically that people would plan with and imagine up with GIS planning? Is that is it mega projects? What should we envision like a typical user to be doing with that platform?
It's really everything. It's everything from, this small shoe store that's looking for, a place to either relocate or open a second shop, straight through to, the next Amazon fulfillment center or headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
So these can be mega projects. They can be in business parks. They can be industrial, office, retail. The only thing we don't do is residential. And the idea is that all of these properties can be listed alongside the thousands of data points. So some of our clients actually prefer not even to list the properties. They just want to put all the data out there so that people who are researching locations can understand more about what that region or that country has to offer their business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what would be a typical organization looking like this, leveraging the platform and putting it on their page? You already mentioned while we were chatting prior that this is very much a driven B2G approach, business to government, but maybe tell us a bit more, like what is sort of, a great and well-suited organization for leveraging GIS planning?
So when I think about two that just a couple that just launched was, the state of California, the Office of the Governor just launched their GoBiz platform, which is a community and place-based data tool. So there's no properties listed, but it's every region, county, city across the entire state of California has this data available. Another one that we just launched is the South Carolina Department of Commerce, which has launched, in their case, they do show properties, office and industrial properties, that kind of space. So the idea is that they're putting all that information out there and people can research their best locations so that then they can go and decide what works best. But we also have small towns. We have, and because we index our price by population, we've scaled it to make it affordable for regions of all size. And they might list, a handful of the properties that are available in a very small town. It could be depending on what they actually have to offer. And then they could add their own data to it. So we bring the data to the projects in North America and in the countries where we have that data available to us. But if they have local data like EV charging stations, for example, or parking lots or tax incentives, we can add that in there. It's not a problem.
Very cool. Okay. And who would you say within those organizations is sort of holding the flag high as the champion to bring in GIS planning? Is that a certain role? Does it come from sort of, is it a top-down approach? Do people on certain levels within the organizations explore it or use it or see it on other towns pages, for example? Maybe who is that, champion typically within those organizations?
That's a really good question. And I think it varies a lot by the size of the organization. So, one of our clients, for example, is the Albuquerque Regional Economic Development Organization. And in that case, we work with an amazing economic development visionary. Her name is Danielle Casey, and she is the director of the association, but she has actually worked with us in 3 other places, including Sacramento, for example, in California, where she was also the director. So in that case, it's top down. It's someone who knows our technology, who's seen it, it's been proven to work for their organization, it's built into their business development practice. Sometimes it's the marketing person, and they understand that having really good visual content, because we see this not just as a data tool, but a source of content that these organizations can use in their marketing and their outreach and their content marketing for email campaigns or social posts or newsletters or any kind of presentation. They often are the ones who really get this, in that sense that this is content. And sometimes it's the business development person. They're like, we just need another way to excite and engage with people online. And so they'll come to us.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, how do these folks hear about GIS planning? You mentioned you guys are already obviously quite a while, you're well-known household name within the industry, but what would you consider like a typical journey of somebody maybe not knowing yet about you guys and then making their way through? What would be sort of the typical client acquisition channels you guys leverage?
It's a good question. So I think because we're the original creators of the technology, that just before us, 25 years ago, there was nothing like this out there. We're definitely the far and away the industry leaders. We serve, I think, 72% of Americans and 67% of North Americans live in territory that we service, including more than 30 statewide organizations. So often it's just, word of mouth. They'll ask other people. We are, often do a lot of thought leadership work in webinars and at conferences. So regional conferences, they'll see us. And so that they might, come across an email or a webinar or something that we're doing and then come to us and ask for more information. They might do a web search and come across us because we put a lot of content out there that is generally helpful, whether you're a client or not. How to do place marketing, for example, how to market your location to potential investors. And another way, especially as we part of the Financial Times as of 5 years ago, so we have expanded around the world. And so for clients outside North America, nobody else has a product like ours. So there's an education component, right? They have to learn what it is that we do and why do they need it. It's a new way to market your location. So for example, the city of Glasgow in Scotland or Dusseldorf in Germany, they will learn about us through the Financial Times, through the work that we're doing, through that thought leadership, or perhaps by coming, across one of our team members at different conferences in different places.
Very cool, very international, and since I'm German myself, so well known with with the city of Düsseldorf. Very cool. So that gives us a good idea of their journey. Now, what I'm curious about as a marketer, how do you think in this context, there's very governmental organizations, how do you think about the website? Like, does the role of the website change in this environment? Does it still play a key role like in many other B2B kind of use cases? How do you think about that?
Well, this is an interesting case because governments, this won't be surprising to you, are pretty conservative as a general rule, right? They don't think of putting themselves out there, certainly as a B2C context would. They're a little bit more cautious in what they say. They want to represent the kind of value proposition for their region. They can't get political, of course, in any way. So you're always walking this fine line, and they may not necessarily, depending on their size, be that sophisticated in terms of, inbound marketing or content marketing. Sometimes it's just 1 or 2 people who are working for the organization wearing a lot of hats, and nobody's really a marketing person, but it lands on their desk. So I think part of what my job is, I'm a former university professor. Part of my job, which I love, is working individually with our clients to help them understand how they can use the tool to market themselves. So there's a lot of that one-on-one consulting. We have a lot of resources that I provide them. I'll go over their website with them, suggest link placement, suggest ways they can integrate it into LinkedIn campaigns. LinkedIn is very big in economic development. I'll even do LinkedIn crash courses for economic development to help them understand how to do that. So I think that that kind of very personal relationship is a very important part of what we do when we're working with governments, because sometimes we're challenging them to go a little bit more out of their comfort zone in terms of that place marketing. And I love that. That's really fun, and it's extremely rewarding because they really see results when they start to do that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And on the flip side, how do you think about the website for GIS planning? What role do you think it plays when you have, governmental users on the website?
So we redesigned our website in 2019, and when we did, our product design director, brand director, is a very talented guy named Pau Rodriguez. And our concept when we put this together was to build the website like an iBook, so that people could come to the website and then work their way progressively into more of the detail. Every feature gets its own page. There are GIFs, there are videos, there are screenshots, there are what does this mean insight pages, because not everybody knows the terminology. So we tried to create the website to be itself a book that explains something that, it sounds pretty complex, and we're trying to make it intuitive and user-friendly and easy to understand. That's what we try to impress upon our clients, what we'd love for them to be doing on their websites. Not all governments do that. This won't surprise you either, probably. And we feel like our tools help them add that interactive content to their websites so they can reduce their bounce rates, so they can get more users to continue returning, so they can go and do some analysis using our tool. Our main tool is called Zoom Prospector, and we've built in a share button. I call that share button our superpower, because that will let you generate a hyperlink to that specific instance of analysis. So for example, how much do people in the city of Dusseldorf, how much did they spend on women's clothing in 2021? That's an interesting heat map. It's colorful. You can share that on LinkedIn. People are interested in them, and it surprises them because you can get that data in a visual way. So when we show them that you can do that with their marketing, that is a real game changer for them.
That makes a whole lot of sense. Now, you mentioned bounce rates actually being affected. You mentioned the conversions, interactivity on the website changing. What have you learned as a marketer over the years that actually positively contributes to actually people converting, right, and requesting those demos or getting in touch on the governmental websites with whatever the conversion goal or the conversion action might be on the page? What have you learned as a marketer? Is it maybe a good method, tools, approaches to make sure that once people are on the page, they actually start engaging and convert?
First of all, give them something of value, whether they become a client or not. We use this in our own marketing. I feel that the marketing we do benefits people and helps educate them about this very specific niche that we're in. I feel like our clients can do that. Give people that data. These are open access data portals. That benefits everyone in a community, your school administrator, your hospital administrator, as well as your investors and your businesses. So if you're providing value, you build trust, you build relationships with people. You encourage people to come back over and over again. You can use those valuable nuggets in your marketing, in newsletters and presentations and email campaigns. So it doesn't just feel like you're trying to sell them something, because you are really performing a service that offers overall value. And I think that's something that often gets overlooked in marketing. And I do think it has actually been a critical part of how we do our work.
Mm-hmm. Makes a lot of sense. Super interesting. Now, as we're slowly approaching the end of the interview, as we've been talking about GIS planning quite a bit, how you thinking about growth, the types of customers you're working with, I would love to learn a bit about yourself as a marketer. Now, there's so much content out there, and specifically on growth marketing and digital marketing. By the day, tons of content is being added. Like, where do you personally like to educate yourself continuously as a marketer? What's a go-to resource for you with all the noise out there?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I have enjoyed things I've picked up at conferences over the years, because certainly within our space, I get to see how people in our very specific niche are sharing that information and getting things out there. I spend time on LinkedIn. I'm always curious to see not just articles about things, but case studies and use studies where I see someone showing me this is what we did and this is why it worked. That often is helpful to me. And just connecting with other people in marketing that I trust, that I think are doing a really great job. I have some wonderful colleagues at the Financial Times that we spend time brainstorming regularly.
Very cool. Now I have some rapid fire questions to wrap it up for today. Are you ready for those?
Okay, go ahead.
What is the last book you read or the last podcast you listened to?
Okay, well, I'm a big fan of This American Life as a podcast. I really enjoy that, and I'm also a big fan of CBC has the Canadian. I'm Canadian. The CBC has a podcast called the Art of Persuasion with Terry O'Reilly that is about marketing. That is really fantastic. I really love that one. A book that I recently read because I was on vacation is a fantastic. It's a novel called The Latecomer. Highly recommend it. But it's a great read, super well written, and it was a nice thing to have on the beach.
What is the one single thing that your company is focused on the most at the moment?
I guess one of the things that we're really doing, we always say we get our best ideas from our clients, and providing that kind of virtual tour capacity is something that we've built in. So adding, for example, every property on our system now has Google Earth 360 flyover. You know, everyone knows Google Earth, and you can offer this kind. Not everyone has drone video, right? But everybody's got that Google Earth image. You know, even the rural folks. So that's something we can add. And we added these 3D renderings where anyone can go into a site or building and draw their own 3D model. We've added some fun design options in there and share that to help people picture their investments. So I think the growth is that continued innovation in those kind of digital strategies. One thing we learned during the pandemic was that you don't always have to get on a plane, right, to do things. So that it includes site selection and corporate investment and foreign direct investment. So that definitely has allowed us to really broaden the value we can offer to our clients, which they can then offer to their website visitors.
Hmm. What would be the one thing, if there would be no boundaries, there's no technical limitations, what's the one thing that you would fix for your role as a marketer?
Well, because we're part, you know, I'm in Montreal, my colleagues are in California and South Carolina and Nevada and Arizona and the UK and Manila and Bulgaria and Belfast. I would love to just be able to like teleport instantly. I just said we don't have to be face to face. But on the other hand, the other thing we learned during the pandemic is actually how amazing face to face is when we can do it. So if there was a way to just instantly teleport without having to go to an airport and deal with delays and thunderstorms and lost luggage, I would love to be able to do that. So if you have any ideas, let me know.
And for the very last question, I would like to do a little bit of time travel. Let's go back to the days of Concordia University, right? Way back. So you're heading out of formal education, at least for the first round. What would be the one advice that you would give yourself for your journey as a professional, as a marketer? I mean, you've been in very interesting and diverse roles for the journey, you know, as a consultant, writer. What would be your advice for that journey?
Remain open to opportunities, even if they don't seem like they're part of your plan. So, you know, I was in academia. I spent years as a university professor at McGill University and Concordia University, and I thought academia was where I would end up. And then I heard from my colleague in San Francisco at GIS Planning who saw me on LinkedIn and who said, "Come, we want you to come and do marketing with us." And I said, I'm not in marketing, I'm a professor. And so being open to opportunities as they present themselves, to be a lifelong learner. We're always learning new things. The world is constantly changing. That's not a threat, that's an opportunity. Um, you know, go out there and remain open to those things and soak it up as you go. That is probably, I think, the most important thing in anyone's career.
Lisa, I really appreciate that you took the time with us today to be a guest on Pathwing Presents. I want to give you the very last word. If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed about GIS planning today, or GIS planning today, what's the one thing that they should remember?
Innovation. You know, we're the original disruptors, but we have maintained our spot consistently as an innovator, and we're proud of that, and we're excited about that, and we do that with our clients because, as I said, we get our ideas from them. So, to be able to continue with that path of innovation has always been our, our biggest challenge and our biggest opportunity, and we enjoy that.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Pathwing Presents.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.